right, hopefully that fixes our issues. Hopefully we have a better stream now. Sorry about that. We're going to go through, again, drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed as well. We're going to go through and do some team blueprints today. I'll let you start with TJ10. Let's pick up where we left off here.
Yeah, so TG10, obviously, already read the lineup. Good quarterback, nice running back room, a ton of value at wide receiver with CeeDee Lamb, Devonta Smith, London, Watson, and Waddle. And then Kyle Pitts at tight end, which from a market value perspective in Dynasty is okay, but obviously not putting up the fantasy points that we were hopeful for this season. In terms of depth, not too excited about it. In a 1 QB, he has Dak and Stafford, so that's a lot less valuable, again, in a 1 QB. Running backs are fine. Javonte Williams, Roschon Johnson, Zach Moss, and then he's got Josh Downs, which we really like there at the wide receiver position. We are still optimistic with your team archetype being very wide receiver heavy. We're optimistic that TG10 will be able to contend this season if he makes a few moves, and even, contend for the future as well because he has so many cornerstone assets. When you're looking for people to trade, we're looking at guys like Drake London, Christian Watson, and Kyle Pitts. They're those guys that will continue to have dynasty value, significant dynasty value for the foreseeable future, but they're not going to do a ton for you this year to help you win a championship because their ceiling is just capped. So when you're moving off London, we're looking for another running back one because right now running back is just a dumpster fire. And there's a lot of running back ones currently that are injured at the moment, short term. There's a lot of running backs that are kind of disappointing from a production perspective that you can get at a discount before they really start to pick it up again. Same thing with Christian Watson. Christian Watson has a lot of week-by-week big playability, but outside of that, what's the volume he's really going to get in Green Bay, and how much can Jordan Love support all those wide receivers this season? We have a lot of questions there. We would say target a higher ceiling wide receiver this year in a better situation with Christian Watson. That would be a guy like Deebo Samuel that we're looking for. If you're looking for a running back, we're thinking Josh Jacobs and DeAndre Swift as a contender. Spoiler alert, we're going to have DeAndre Swift in general as a sell in Dynasty, but for a contender, we really do like the upside that Swift offers this season. It's worth investing in him. Kyle Pitts, get Dallas Goedert plus. Dallas Goedert has had a horrible first 4 weeks of the year. He had a really big week last season. His value is going to go up a bit, but not enough where it's going to be equivalent to Kyle Pitts still after Pitts has been disappointing and being outproduced by Jonnu Smith. If you can get some assets on top of Dallas Goedert, some depth to help you out to contend this year, we are all about that. Draft capital is great. Try to avoid trading away your first-round pick, but if you have to include that to get a high ceiling, high upside wide receiver or running back, especially this season, then it would be worth it if you're going to go and get a championship because that'll end up being the 110 to the 112. Overall, the suggestions that we have for you are that you're third in points for right now. You're third in points for, but you're ninth in placement right now in your 10-team league. That's going to change, and your all hope is not lost yet. You don't have to sell all of these guys that we recommend. If you think some of them are going to turn around, these are just recommendations, again, for you to kind of raise your ceiling again if you want to turn the page here on getting some unfortunate losses. Pay attention to market value, buy the dips, and sell the spikes. So these are some guys that Josh Jacobs and Dallas Goedert specifically have fallen in value quite a bit because of their disappointing starts to the season. Even Deebo Samuel because of the emergence of Brandon Ayuk, who still remains to be inconsistent, but here we are, Deebo Samuel being shorted because of that. Value is great, but points are better. Target upside if you want to win, and that's what we're trying to help you do here.
Yeah, absolutely. TG10, my friend, really appreciate you submitting your blueprint for us again. And like I said, if you want one of these team blueprints and you want it reviewed on a live stream, flockfantasy.com/domain. Use code domain for 30% off, and the domain code also unlocks the blueprint, so make sure you're using code domain. Again, if you choose the Mother Flocker tier, we'll do one of these for you as well. What's our next one, Sam?
All right, so we got Matthews or
yeah, Matthias. All right,
yeah.
Cool. All right, Matthias, thank you again for submitting your blueprint. Really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and look at this blueprint right now. We're going to have a 1 QB, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, tied in 2 flex and 10 benches. It's not a super flex, so this is a 1 QB league. It's a 14-team league. It also has kicker and defense and special teams. So looking at your starting lineup, you've got Josh Allen, Javonte Williams, Amari DiMercado, Amon-Ra, Christian Kirk, Mark Andrews, Christian Watson, Josh Reynolds, Tyler Bass, and then the New York Jets defense. So again, we're not going to pay too much of attention to the kicker and defense here, but your depth score, we're going to have at a 5 out of 10. That's going to include Bryce Young, Jaden Reed, Wandale, Zay Jones, Zach Charbonnet, That's Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams. Yes.
Yeah, and your depth.
And again, these are some good younger guys. These are just not guys that are going to help you contend, but your team archetype is going to be well-rounded, and I think you're going to see that play out over the course of this blueprint. And in terms of your 3-year outlook here, we're going to have you rebuilding this year, but you're going to be ready to contend after this year and the year after that. So we're going to be comfortable telling you that you should be able to make these moves to contend within the next year. Looking at your cornerstone assets here, Josh Allen's going to be obviously your cornerstone QB. You've got cornerstone wide receiver in Amon-Ra, and then Mark Andrews, you have cornerstone tight end. On the contender rebuild scale, you definitely lean more rebuild. And again, that's a good thing. We want to get as far rebuild as we can so next year we can flip it all and get as far contend as we can. Look to trade these players. Javonte Williams for sure. Trade him for a safer wide receiver. So you're looking at guys like Marquise Brown, or even guys if they fall like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Mark Andrews for draft picks and wide receivers on a contending league. Those Drake London and JSN qualify for the wide receivers as well. And then Christian Watson for a cornerstone running back or wide receiver. And again, we're going to target those wide receivers over here. Drake London, JSN, Marquise Brown, and even Dalton Kincaid as well. I think you could down tier to Dalton Kincaid. Looking at your draft capital, you own all your future picks. So since you own all of your picks, we're going to give you a pretty good grade on your draft capital. Our suggestions and comments for you, my friend. You cannot acquire too many wide receivers in a rebuild, so go get as many wide receivers as you possibly can. Be patient trading away your contending assets because you hold the cards. And defense and kicker don't matter. If they move the needle as throw-ins in your rebuild, you need to do it. So looking at positional grades to wrap this thing up, quarterback, you were a 9 out of 10. Running back, you had a 4 out of 10, which is good on a rebuild. 6 out of 10 for wide receiver. We can get that score up for sure. And then 9 out of 10 for tight ends. So, again, Matthias, we really appreciate you. Your team archetype, again, was well-rounded. Thanks for submitting your blueprint, my friend. And we've got one more to do before we get into answering everybody's questions tonight.
Yep. This is from Bank Farter.
Bank Farter.
Yeah, Bank Farter's got...
Drop your questions, guys, by the way.
The only Superflex Dynasty League that we're reviewing today, but he has Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, and Josh Dobbs. Obviously, having to start Josh Dobbs over Daniel Jones pretty consistently now because of how bad the Giants have been this season, how bad Daniel Jones has been, because he has 0 protection and already has more hits than Andrew Luck does in his career. So it's really tough. And honestly, this is a team where, honestly, going into the year, you were probably optimistic that you were able to contend, and just a lot of things didn't go your way. Derrick Henry has been very hit or miss, and the emergence of Tyjae Spears has been very concerning for his overall volume. Fortunately for you, you own Tyjae Spears as well. James Cook, your second running back, and then you have A.J. Brown and Garrett Wilson, which going into this year, you would have been 10 out of 10 from a value perspective, but Garrett Wilson is back in QB purgatory, and his ceiling is just capped with Zach Wilson. Jake Ferguson at tight end, and then Brian Robinson and Chris Godwin in your flex. Your depth score, we're going to give you a 5 out of 10 overall. We like some of the assets you have. You lost Mike Williams to the ACL tear. Again, another just unfortunate thing that happened to your team. Probably a contender, and at this point, it's just not working out for you with Jahan Dotson disappointing as well. Your 3-year outlook, we're going to have rebuild, and contend. You have a lot of older assets, especially at running back with Derrick Henry and Logan Thomas in your depth. But then guys, not older assets specifically, but guys like Brian Robinson, Tyjae Spears, who just long-term, we don't really know what they're going to be, what they're going to amount to. And their draft capital is kind of mid, and their talent is questionable in their skill set as well, but they do offer a lot of contending upside. So for the people that we're looking to trade on your team, Derrick Henry first and foremost, we want to get contenders draft picks for Derrick Henry because we expect his production to go up as the season continues, because Derrick Henry, King Henry, gets better as everyone gets worse when the season progresses. So he's just King Henry. Jake Ferguson, look, he's shown a lot of promise, shown a little bit of upside, but how much is that upside really going to serve you in a Dynasty League with the dumpster fire of tight end currently? It's not going to serve you much. So let's get off him as quick as we can. Let's get some value insulated wide receivers at a discount, and let's move off Brian Robinson. He's had a really good start to the season, kind of fallen off the last couple of weeks as Sam Howell passes the ball more, but if you can get any pick or any young wide receiver, again, at a discount, we're looking for guys like Michael Wilson and Josh Downs. Josh Downs is currently value equivalent, I believe, to Jake Ferguson or Brian Robinson. I can't remember. I think it's Brian Robinson. If you can get Josh Downs, we are all for that. Geno Smith is considered a contending quarterback, but he's not. and he's going at a discount because of it. If you can kind of help your quarterback room in a super flex league with Daniel Jones not showing out and obviously losing Josh Dobbs' production once he's benched again, Geno Smith could be a really good acquisition for you long-term and is going to be on the cheaper end. Dalton Kincaid is a first-round tight end prospect who has not produced at the elite level that Sam Laporta has done right off the bat because guess what? He's a rookie tight end, and that's what most rookie tight ends do. We believe that he's going to really show out on Buffalo in years to come. You own all your future personal picks, which is a really good sign, especially considering that you're probably going to end up being bottom 6 at the end of this season. Overall, your positional grades are fine. You're pretty well-rounded overall. And our final suggestions that we're going to have for you are to prioritize clearing your running backs. Contenders are going to pay a really pretty price. And honestly, if you're shipping off Derrick Henry, someone's going to want that Tyjae Spears handcuff. Make them pay for it. They'll pay a premium. Be patient. You hold the cards for contending assets. I think regardless of whether you sell these assets now versus in 5 or 6 weeks, it's probably the difference between 1 or 2 rookie picks placement, and I'm okay with that because honestly at this point, if you're rebuilding now, there are 2 or 3 other teams that are rebuilding harder, and they probably already did it before the season started. So don't worry about getting rid of those assets at a discount now. Make your contenders pay and load up at wide receiver. If you can get Kyler Murray at a discount in a super flex league, please do it as well.
Really, really appreciate all you guys. Bank Farter, we appreciate you, and I do appreciate that name. I wonder if that's your actual name, but
yeah.
We are going to just talk about this. Look, how this works. You go over to flockfantasy.com/domain, and you sign up for the Mother Flocker tier. We create this team blueprint for one of your Dynasty teams, and then we DM it to you. After that, these guys, after we send them the blueprint, are in our DMs asking us about trades, asking us about offers they've gotten, asking about potential moves. So this is a complete consultation for your Dynasty team, including the blueprint, which obviously is super freaking cool. So flockfantasy.com/domain. Make sure you use code domain and choose the Mother Flocker tier. I just dropped it in the comments if you'd like to get one of these for yourself and get it reviewed on the live stream. All you have to do is ask us. We'll get on here. We'll review it in front of everybody. It's a lot of fun, but you also get rankings, articles. You get our Discord. You get a ton of stuff over there. So like I said, we'd love to have you join us, and we'd love to give you a team blueprint. We are filling a lot of those out. Let's go through and answer some questions now. So again, do us a huge favor. If you're going to ask a question or if you're going to hang out, drop a like. We've got 19 likes. We got 44 watching, so let's get our likes up to like 45. Yep. Let's get the number on the screen with the subscribers up as well.
We got a lot of questions here.
We got a lot of questions to go through and answer, so make sure you drop your questions.
Yep. If you want to jump the line, Super Chats get priority as well. Starting at the top from Mario 5, he says, Huck it, chuck it, football. Yes, sir.
That's true.
Kevin says, 12-team, half PPR Superflex, start 10. He's a contender. He wants to give Bryce Young, T. Higgins, and a late 24 first and a late 25 first to get Chase and Breece Hall. His quarterbacks are Mahomes, Carr, and Kyler and Bryce Young. Running backs are Etienne, Gibbs, Moss, Ford. And his receivers are looking pretty solid right now, but T. Higgins isn't doing you any good as a contender at the moment. So when I'm breaking it down here, I'm thinking Jamar Chase for Bryce Young and the 2 firsts, honestly, and then Breece Hall or Higgins. I'll take the Chase and the Hall side there as a contender quite easily.
Yeah. Cameron says, where's the other guy? The other guy's at school right now.
Yep.
Piano13 says, what are you paying for JT in Dynasty? Even more in a 10-man first plus. Yeah, no, I'm definitely paying a first. I'd pay 2 firsts for JT right now in Dynasty.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. I mean, you're talking mid-late first? Absolutely. Talking early, I think it's probably 1 first. Those early firsts are going to be really, really valuable. Yeah. I probably wouldn't even make that trade. I'd probably just keep in my early first, unless it especially like 101 to 103 range. But it's a good question. JT's Dynasty value did take a very big step up recently. I mean, this is big for his value getting this contract.
Yeah. Do you know by chance when that extension starts? Is it after this year, or is it effective immediately?
I would,
because that adds a year.
If it's an extension, I would assume it's after this year. I mean,
if it's after this year, that's even better for his value.
You want to check on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to check on the JT contract. But this was big Dynasty news in the last couple days.
It's a 3-year deal, but he's only guaranteed the first 2 seasons. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's an extension on top of his 4-year deal, that it may be they may take that out after the second year. So, but I mean, even though it's not a 4-year deal or a super long-term one that maybe some people were hopeful for, it's better than what most running backs can say in the NFL right now because no one's getting paid.
Drop your JT trades. If you made any JT trades, drop them in the comments. I want to hear what you guys were getting JT for before this contract went down. And again, JT's got to be a top 4 running back right now in Dynasty. What is it?
It's an extension.
It's an extension. So he's there. He's
So
3.5 years.
3 years, including this season.
Guys, JT is, assuming he's able to come back, and he should be you're not ranking a lot of guys over JT right now. You just aren't. You just cannot. He's been that good.
Yep.
So we're really excited about that as Colts fans, obviously.
Steichen is gonna make him look so good, dude.
Yeah, he is going to use the frick out of him. So
Yeah.
really, really excited about that. And so, yes, in a 10-man, I'd pay even more for sure. All right, we're going to move down here to RB. 12-team PPR. Receive JSN and trade away Musgrave.
Oh, my gosh. Yes.
Yes.
2 seconds in Musgrave.
So let's build on that. JSN right now in Dynasty, guys,
Huge
a
buy.
screaming buy. He is a screaming buy. And I'm talking like these are the types of deals that are being made for JSN right now. We love it. We absolutely love it.
Yep.
We're going out and buying JSN all day. And when you're talking about like 2 seconds for Musgrave, like I love Musgrave, but my goodness, it's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah. Yep. Completely agree there. Next question from MG says 12-team Superflex start 10. PPR, DJ Moore or a late 24 first as an 0-5 tanking for Caleb team. If you can get a 24 first, any 24 first for DJ Moore as a rebuild, I'm absolutely doing that. DJ Moore just has too many question marks for us long term. He's stuck on a rebuilding team. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback next year. Honestly, we're hopeful for his fantasy upside that it's not Fields next season because that would actually theoretically help his production. But again, we just don't know. And next season, he's going to be 27 years old. That's not super old for a wide receiver. He has a lot of football left in him. But I would just prefer to not have DJ Moore, especially as a rebuild.
Yeah. Appreciate you joining us, MG Edits. Again, guys, drop a like and drop all your questions. We're only going to do about one Dynasty live stream a week still right now because redraft season is so heavy for us. But, again, we're going to try to get through as many of these questions as we can. We've got a lot of them to get through. So if you do want to jump the line and get your question answered, really important. Super Chats obviously jump to the front of the line. So Ron T says, would you guys trade Olave, Dotson, Monty in a mid-first for Justin Jefferson in a mid-second? Yeah, I'm comfortable doing that.
Yep.
I'm comfortable taking the J. Jeff side there. I actually just traded away Justin Jefferson in a league. And actually in one of our listener leagues. If you want to get in one of our listener leagues, head over to vlogfantasy.com. But again, I think if you need to sell Justin Jefferson right now, just don't do it at a discount. Don't do it at a discount, please. Yeah. That's all I ask. But yes, I'm good getting Justin Jefferson in that trade.
Yeah. Chris says, would you trade Justin Fields and Treylon Burks for JSN straight up? It's a 12-team PPR league.
If it's a superflex,
in a superflex
no.
league, no, I would not do that, and that's a big deal coming from us.
because value-wise, you can
Value-wise.
get more for Justin Fields.
If it's a
than JSN.
1 QB, yes, I would do that.
I mean, and you're also buying low on JSN, so you shouldn't have to pay somebody who's valued in the market higher than him to get him.
Yep. Pura Vida Pythons says, start Field or Lamar. Thanks, fellas. We're going to go with Lamar every single week because Lamar has really great rushing upside, and he's a better passer.
He is playing the Titans.
Yeah. And
the Bears are playing the Vikings.
Yeah, and the Titans' secondary is really bad.
Yeah, okay. I'm fine with either of those.
Their run defense was supposed to be good, and Zach Moss put up 33 points.
I'm fine with Fields, too. I think Fields is playing
the Vikings, which is true.
So, yeah,
I would still...
Not super good.
At that point, though, I mean, when you're looking at the Titans playing really, really good teams early to start the season, I mean, they got blown out 27-3 in a previous game against the Browns. Like, I'm just going to take the better player there in Lamar Jackson. Dexter
says Pittman Cousins for Purdy, 24 mid-third and a 25 mid-second.
It's tough because Pittman's going into he's in a contract year.
Going to be re-signed.
Going to be re-signed most likely. Man, I'm going to go with the quarterback there. I'm a big believer in Purdy as a fantasy asset.
Right now, market value says Purdy. This is something, guys, as we get back into Dynasty content that we're going to need to discuss. Where are these quarterbacks falling out at in terms of now where everything's been shaken up? I mean, Dak is the quarterback 17, Purdy's the quarterback 12. Everything has changed. So it's market value. It's Purdy there. Chase Brown says Bengals Chase Brown is back in the house. What is up, Bengals Chase Brown?
Yeah, what up?
He also says someone wants my Puka as I'm a contender. Don't give him your Puka. He is a rebuilder, and he thinks Higgins plus future picks. What picks would make it worth it with additional Higgins or just keep Puka? This sounds like the trade you were going to
make. Let me just tell you. I got crapped on big time for this a few videos ago when I said that there was no way that I was selling Puka for anything less at that time than 2 firsts because of what he's done for the first few weeks. Does that mean that I thought he was going to continue to do that? Not exactly. That's just the price that I was putting on his name, and I was only going to take an overpay because I think he's a hold. If you can get Higgins and a first, that's honestly the only way that I'm taking Higgins and the pick, because Higgins is going to increase in value once the Dynasty season really kickstarts in December and January, because he may go to a different team and end up being the one, but I think he's going to continue to decrease in value because he's not going to score many points this season. He's obviously struggling with the injury again, and if you take away all the games he's not injured and all the games he didn't score 28 points, he averages 28 points per game. But outside of that, he's really disappointed. I was being sarcastic there. And
super chat, so.
Yeah, and that's honestly what I would go for. I'd say Higgins in a first, make him pay, man, because Puka is not stopping. He's
all right,
not.
We did get a super chat from Uncle Rico. Uncle Rico can throw a football over those mountains. He's going to jump the line here. We really appreciate your support, my friend. And your question is, should you give DJ, I'm assuming that's, it could be Deontay Johnson. It could be DJ Moore. Pierce, Ford, and Sky for T, Ramondre, and James Cook. I'm assuming that's DJ Moore, so let's talk about that. Jerome Ford, let's get him out of this trade. I don't even like it. So, yeah, keep him in there, but he's not worth anything, really. Sky Moore, yeah, Pierce.
I'm taking T.
I'm taking T. Higgins here. In Ramondre, yes, absolutely, I'm taking that side.
Yep.
Even if the DJ is somebody else. So, yeah, I mean, look, you're getting a value-insulated receiver in T. Higgins. You're getting Ramondre Stevenson as a buy low right now, who hasn't done anything yet. And James Cook, who honestly is not even really a buy low or sell high. He's just kind of done what we thought he would. You know, high-end RB2 on the Buffalo Bills. And he's still a fine dynasty asset. So, yes, to answer your question, Uncle Rico, we are very comfortable with that. Appreciate your super chat, my friend. Let us know if you need anything else. Let's jump back up here. What's our next one?
Jack says, should I start with Rashad White or James Cook this week? We'll go with, what are the matchups?
Rashad White's a sit for us.
Tampa Bay.
It's James Cook for me. They're playing the Giants.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Yep.
It's James Cook. Good question, Jack.
Yeah.
Mario says sup to Chase Brown, and Chase Brown says sup, Mario. We got some real friendships happening in our comments. Mario did also say P.J. Walker or Antonio Gibson in my Superflex spot. I know FML. 0.5 PPR, 6-point passing touchdown. I'm probably going P.J. Walker there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I as well.
Go ahead.
Dylan says, what to do with quarterbacks? I'm in between competing and rebuilding, and my QBs in Superflex are Mahomes, Kyler, and Ritter. Well, if you're between competing and rebuilding, I think you got to decide which one you want to do, because...
And then make your moves after that.
Yeah, because Kyler Murray is definitely he's a hold if you're rebuilding, and if you're contending, he is a really, really good asset to move off of for those that are tanking, because those teams that are tanking right now are all of a sudden valuing Kyler Murray a lot more than they did previously, because they realize how much he's going to increase in value very, very soon. So they actually consider him a pretty valuable asset. So I would look into that first.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, make sure you drop a like if you haven't. Make sure you get that number above Nathan's head to go, and we get some subscribe. If you're watching, you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that. If you play Dynasty, because again, we are going to have Dynasty content from here on out. And we want to be here to answer all your questions, get a good gauge on the market, be able to help you with your teams. So make sure you subscribe. Let's get a couple people to subscribe if you would, please. And let's go ahead. Again, Super Chats are going to jump the line. We got a lot of comments tonight to go through.
Yep, Mr.
This is going to be Jet Simulations, right? Oh, no, we got another one.
We got another Super Chat.
Oh, so Mr. Moderator. Nice.
I see.
Hey, really appreciate your Super Chat, my friend. And your question is, should you receive James Cook for Joe Mixon? Should I accept this? Ooh. This is an interesting one. I think a lot of people would agree that these two guys are in the same tier.
Yep.
So when you're going through talking about Joe Mixon being in the Bengals offense, he is there for at least this next year, okay? And probably the year after this.
Yep.
James Cook is still on his rookie deal. He's still going to be tied to Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They have really no interest, I don't think, in trading over him or drafting over him. But it's Joe Mixon. Now, Joe Mixon obviously has the age advantage there. Nathan, I'm curious your answer on this one.
I think this honestly, even if I don't know if it depends on your contending or rebuilding value. I think I'm taking James Cook here.
Yeah, I think
and I think with Joe Mixon, it's nothing against him. We just know that this is really this is the last year of Joe Mixon's relevancy. He already is struggling to get the ball into the end zone. It's not exactly his fault because the offensive line is so bad. I would anticipate Joe Mixon to eventually get the ball in the end zone and to really boost his production. I think he'll get better as the year progresses, but who's to say that James Cook won't either? And James Cook has more receiving upside, in my opinion. So I'm taking James Cook here, man, because even if you miss out on Joe Mixon increasing in production, you can just move off James Cook in the future, ship him off to a rebuild, and go get another contending running back that's scoring more points. I think that's the move you want to go with.
I am going to agree with Nathan there. Again, Mr. Moderator, thank you so much for your super chat. Thanks for your support, man. Let us know if you need anything. And then our friend Muhammad has a super chat for us. Appreciate you supporting the channel, my friend.
Yep.
Your question is, you have Hall, Gibbs, Spears, Roshan, Lamb, Ayuk, Waddle, and Jigba, and DJ, and that's Pittsburgh DJ. Thank you. For Flex League and being offered a second and a third for DJ. Should you pull? So that's Deontay Johnson for a second and a third. Great question. What is he actually worth right now? I'm very curious what you think on this. I am also curious enough to look on Keep Trade Cut real quick because Deontay Johnson is a guy that he is the wide receiver of 45 right now. He's undervalued. You're talking about comparing him to a 24-second. Deontay Johnson's still favored market, and market is low.
If someone offered me Deontay Johnson and I had to pay a second and a third, I'm taking Deontay Johnson all day.
That's exactly how I feel about this. So
yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and hold Deontay Johnson, even if you're rebuilding. I know you have a lot of depth there. However, we are a lot more focused on making sure you get the best for your value. And in this case, I think the best value here is going to be Deontay Johnson. But again, appreciate the super chat, my friend.
It's a weird in-between stage.
It is a weird
because
in-between.
if you got like 2 seconds, maybe you
I'm
consider
doing 2
pulling the
seconds.
trigger there. But when you look at the guys that are value equivalent to him on Keep Trade Cut, it's Jacoby Myers, Gabe Davis, Josh Downs. Like any of those wide receivers, if someone offered you a second and a third, you're taking the wide receiver every single time with those guys. So it's a weird in-between stage because they're definitely not worth firsts, but they're worth more than a second. So I think you just got to take the in-between there and go with 2 seconds if you want to make that deal.
Yeah, 100% agree. Thanks for your super chat again. We got a ton of comments to go through tonight, guys. We're going to be on for a limited time because we have a fantasy show at 6:30. So if you want your questions answered and you're at the bottom, your super chats are going to jump the line, but we're going to jump up to the top again here and work our way down until we get some more super chats. I think we are at Jax, right?
Yeah,
or are we at no, we're at Jet Simulations.
Jet Simulations.
Jet Simulations, what's up?
Yes.
Who should I try and trade Miles Sanders for?
Well, let me tell you right here. Miles Sanders. If you could get, I think it depends on what your situation is right now. Are you contending? Are you rebuilding? Because Miles Sanders is becoming less and less and less valuable. If you're rebuilding, I'm targeting, man, there's not many great rebuilding assets that you can get for Miles Sanders. He has plummeted, dude, because he's been legitimately one of the worst running backs in the NFL, starting running backs in the NFL. If you're contending, I'd target James Conner because Miles Sanders is under a contract long term, but James Conner is just a better running back. If you could get Michael Mayer as a rebuild, I would honestly jump on that. Like, talk about a guy that we were wrong on this offseason. We were big on Miles Sanders going into this year, and he's looked nothing but horrible, like straight up. And I don't think there's any coming back from that.
Yeah, 100% agree. Jack, what's up, Jack? Jack says, domain! Cheers to Friday from a bitter Judy Dynasty owner. We tried to tell you. We tried. I'm ready to take my L on him as a player, but should I wait to trade him until he's moved? Yes, do not trade him right
sir.
now. Yep. He's in an all-time value low after the Steve Smith viral video. Oh, my gosh. Remember when Steve Smith was
drafted Jonathan Mingo?
Was the absolute, like, he was the standard for analysis on prospects when he said that Jonathan Mingo was the best receiver in the draft. And now everybody's like, he's such a loser. Yeah. So what's up, Jack? And, yeah, you should be waiting. I'm sorry about Jerry Jeudy. I'm truly sorry.
Yep.
Salik says, Lamar Jackson's the best player on a rebuilding team. We're looking to get the best approximate value for him given we're rebuilding, especially 24 picks. What's his value in your opinion? This one's hard because if you're playing in a super flex league, Lamar's worth a lot, man. Lamar's worth a lot. I don't think you can put a picks price on Lamar. I mean, you're talking 4 or 5 firsts, including some early ones. If those are mid to late first, I'm not even taking those for Lamar. So that's hard. If you're going to really sell and you want first, you're going to want a down tier.
I'm looking for quarterbacks that are buys right now. I'm looking at Joe Burrow plus. I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence plus. Lamar Jackson is playing at an MVP caliber level right now, and everyone knows that. And everyone knows that Joe Burrow and Lawrence don't look great and aren't really producing in fantasy. But we know, because we're smart, and you should too, that Joe Burrow, we're not smart. No, I'm saying we're sorry.
Okay.
We're thinking smart. That Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence are in the same tier as Lamar Jackson. So if you can get, I mean, and CJ Stroud as well, if you can get plus for any of those guys, I'd do it.
All right, we got a super chat from our friend Imani Jones. Thank you so much for your super chat, my friend. Really appreciate you. Appreciate you joining the show. And your question tonight is 10-team 2QB. You got Joe Burrow, Bijan, Kenneth Walker, Drake London, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Pitts, Hollywood, Zay, CJ. Nice. That's a good team. 3 firsts. 3 firsts again. Moves and trades to dominate. Great question because you've got a really good team there. Let's take this to the next level. When we're looking at your team, I like Joe Burrow as a hold. I like Bijan as a hold. I like Kenneth Walker as a hold. I like Drake London as a hold. I like Jalen Waddle as a hold. T. Higgins as a hold. Kyle Pitts, yeah, you probably have to hold him. Hollywood Brown. I think Hollywood Brown would be a candidate for you to trade away on this team. Hollywood Brown is somebody who is on a team that might just draft a first-round wide receiver next year. I think they are a heavy candidate to do so. Hollywood Brown also could get moved, so maybe wait in the next few weeks. But if you are looking to get some contenders to bite, put Hollywood Brown in the trade block. He's been fairly good this year. And when you're looking at Zay, I'm assuming that's Zay Flowers and CJ. I mean, man, I'm not going to lie to you. This is a fantastic team. Great situation to be in. A lot of times we would say, hey, sell your first so you can go and win the championship. You have too many firsts and you could be too dominant. If you tried to win now and shipped off some of those firsts, you would be for the worse for the next 3 seasons. Hold out for 1 more year because you're not going to, from a points perspective, you're probably not going to win the championship this season. Be okay being mediocre this year. Don't do anything other than moving off maybe Hollywood. Outside of that, let's worry about the first once we get to 2024. You can move off some to get some really good values at that point in the offseason, and then you can dominate for the next 3 years and be a contender for the next 3 seasons. Again, really, really good team there. I think you've got a team set up to win in 1 or 2 years, for sure. So I'm not making a ton of moves there, but appreciate your question. Hope that helps a little bit, and appreciate your super chat, my friend. Let us know if you need any help with that team. Dylan, thank you for your super chat. Really appreciate you, Dylan. Your question is Kyler plus what number of picks for Lamar? 2. 2 firsts? Yep. Kyler and 2 firsts. That's what we're saying. Because I don't think you do it for Kyler and 1 first. If you're a contender, would you do that? I would do that. As a contender, I would pay 2 firsts on top of Kyler to get Lamar Jackson. No, I agree with you. I'm just thinking through it. I think you're right. And that would be because you're not doing it for Kyler. You're not. Nobody's taking Kyler in a first for Lamar. It's not market value equivalent. And a second is not going to do it either. It's got to be 2 firsts. Yep. So, appreciate you, Dylan. Thanks for joining us, man. Let us know if you got any more questions. We're going to jump back up to the top here. Again, we're only going to be on for probably 15, 30 minutes. So if you have a question, drop it in the chat. We're going to try to make it through all these, but we've got a lot of them. So drop a super chat if you want to jump in front of everybody and get your question answered by us. Where are we at? Dylan says, had this trade accepted before last night's game, my pickings for his Judy and a 25 second. I'm fine with that still. It's not. I'm fine. Judy's going to get traded, so that's I'm fine with it because of the trade deadline. I think Judy's going to get traded, and he's going to increase in value significantly, and then you can ship him off. All right. Got another super chat here. Jump back up. Uncle Rico's back. Uncle Rico, my friend, we really appreciate you. When he throws the steak at Napoleon in that movie, it's my favorite scene, by the way. Trade strategy question. Okay. I find using keep trade cut is useful as a baseline in a trade since most reference it, since there's such a big difference in calculators. How do you use keep trade cut to your advantage, and what trade calculator do you find captures the best value for you in your trades? What is that? So here's what I would recommend.
You are correct by using cute trade cut as a baseline. We use it as a baseline all the time, not because we think it's accurate, but because we know that there's a lot of people out there that use it as dynasty gospel, value gospel.
Yes.
And you know immediately once you offer a trade to them, they're going to plug it into keep trade cut and see if it's even remotely fair. And if it's fair, they're going to at least consider it. So that's a good way to utilize that. When we're talking about other trade calculators, there honestly is we have looked and looked and looked. There is no free resource that is really going to be accurate. I mean, I know people that try to use RotoTrade and like RotoTrade, you'd be better like trying to read tea leaves for a trade calculator than using RotoTrade.
Yeah.
And really at that point, you kind of just have to weigh what you want to do in your dynasty leagues. If you want to trust your own intuition, trust your own valuing of the players, plus keep trade cut as a supplement, or you can go to flockfantasy.com.
There it is.
Which has a bunch of rankings from a bunch of expert rankings that are composite rankings, and really
you can
help
just
you
DM
with
us.
scenarios. You can DM us and
Like,
whatnot. I know it was a really great plug, but
it's not even. That is the best resource.
Seriously, like I have found. I refer to that myself when I'm doing trades. I refer to that before.
You know what I do when I'm making trades? I ask Nathan. I ask the guys on Flock Fantasy, all the people in our community. I'm like, what do you guys think of this? That is how you do it, guys. You get a group of good people that you trust, and you run all your trades by them. You hardly ever lose a trade in the moment when you do that. So that's the best trade calculator is people and good people. Like, and he again, it's not even a plug. Don't even put it on the screen. But seriously, if you are in our community at flockfantasy.com, we just give people trade advice all day. That's what we do. It's literally our job.
We do.
So
and they help us, man. And that really is going to be, like you said, the best resource that you can have. It if you're not comfortable paying for something like that, get a group of people that you do trust in Dynasty Fantasy Football that you can really just bounce ideas off of. This is how we started with this. We would just spend hours and hours on Monday nights just talking about trade scenarios and things like that. So it's been a lot of fun. We got some more super chats here. We got a message retracted. Not sure who that's from.
He was from Rob. He dropped another one. So
okay,
we'll get to his. Actually, let's do Rob's first.
Yeah.
Rob, thank you so much for your super chat, my friend, for both those super chats.
Yep.
Rob says Wilson Jr. not activated, so I'm left with Foreman or DeMarcado. Oof. Gibbs is killing me. He's killing us, man.
Yeah.
Who has the highest floor? Probably Foreman.
Probably Foreman because we've seen him produce before, and he's playing the Minnesota Vikings defense this week.
Yeah, so we're going to probably start Foreman there. Take a look at your waivers just in case, but again, if you're playing in a 12-team Dynasty League, probably not anybody there you're going to be able to just plug in. So I would go Foreman. Yep. I think with DeMarcado, I think you're going to have Keontae Ingram also competing for touches there, so that's going to be something. So again, I mean, Gibbs, Gibbs is out, so you can't start Gibbs. That's unfortunate. But yeah, we'll go with Foreman there. Thanks, Rob, for your question and for your super chat. Really appreciate it.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Imani Jones says, made two big moves, traded Swift and Calvin Ridley for Pitts and T. Higgins. Okay, I actually don't mind that. And then he traded Puka and a second for Waddle and Marvin Mims. Good move, or did I make a dire mistake? I love the Waddle trade. I absolutely love the Waddle trade because, in my opinion, I don't think Puka can ever be valued any higher than an early third-round dynasty pick, and that's around where Jalen Waddle's being valued at the moment. I also really like for you, it sounds like these moves you're making are more rebuild-esque. Yeah. Am I right?
No, you are.
So if you're getting Kyle Pitts in exchange for DeAndre Swift, I think that's a lateral move. Pitts is very value-insulated. And then T. Higgins, like, great move as a rebuild because we know he's going to skyrocket in value next offseason if and when he goes to a different team.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate your super chat, my friend Imani. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
And we're going to jump down to RB here. RB, again, thank you for your super chat. Thanks for jumping on the stream. Really appreciate you joining the show tonight. And your question is, you've got a 10-team PPR with 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, tied in a flex. You also have a super flex. Mahomes and Anthony Richardson. Wow, that's awesome. And Geno, my gosh. You've got Gibbs, Sanders, Roshan, Kendra Miller, again, Gibson, so some younger running backs. Puka, Waddle, Kirk, Addison, Judy, Sky, and then you've got Andrews, Kincaid, Kmet, and Woods. Any moves? Great question. In a Superflex league, look, I'm keeping all 3 of those.
I'm keeping all 3.
Love it. I love it. That is so good. Now, obviously, you're looking at Gibbs and Miles Sanders.
That's tough.
It's tough. It's tough from starting those running backs every week and hoping for the best. But looking down at your wide receiver depth and your tight end depth, you got Puka, Waddle, Christian Kirk, Jordan Addison, Jerry Jeudy. I'm not sure I'm trading any of those guys, honestly. Like maybe Jeudy maybe Jeudy at the deadline. But in terms of like your tight ends, I think Kincaid and Kmet are pretty much, you've got 2 backup tight ends, so you can trade one of those guys. It's not the best time to trade Kincaid. It is a good time to trade Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet has gone off recently,
yes,
and he also is probably not going to maintain that over time. So Kmet would be one of the first ones we see. Jeudy would be another one.
Jeudy.
Oh, I'm actually going to give him this.
Jahmyr
You need a
Gibbs.
running back. No, well, Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, if you can trade Jahmyr Gibbs for anything, we're going to release a video on this tomorrow. We should be, if you're looking at where Jahmyr Gibbs is valued on Keep Trade Cut, all the guys around him were taking over him.
Etienne and Walker.
But there's another one, and you are going to be surprised by this. But looking at his value today on Keep Trade Cut, I'm going to say that you should move Jordan Addison for a running back right now. If you can move Jordan Addison for a Travis Etienne, if you can move Jordan Addison for a Kenneth Walker on this team, I actually really like that move.
Do you think he should wait a couple more weeks to make that move while Jordan Addison is putting up a bunch of points while J. Jeff is out?
I think it's already going to be baked into his value because people are just assuming he's going to step. And I think KJ Osborne takes a bigger step up than Addison does. And I think right now might be a very good time to capitalize. Because, again, looking at Jordan Addison on Keep Trade Cut, and, again, we use Keep Trade Cut as a baseline, as where are other people valuing things. We don't use it as a trade calculator. The wide receiver 14. Guys, he is a wide receiver 2. I mean, he is the wide receiver 2 on his team. That is fairly high. So I love Jordan Addison. We were very high on him, but right now he's being valued around guys like Kenneth Walker, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp. But especially in the running back category, like Kenneth Walker, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs plus. Totally cool with all those moves. And I think that would be one that you maybe should go ahead and try to get done while you can, because his value is probably, is his value ceiling, really.
You've got contending upside
You do.
with long-term value. That's the best situation you want to be in Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you can go and win the championship this year and it doesn't hurt you long-term, and it's not going to, clearly, with this QB room and the tight ends that you have, I'm going for it, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, we really appreciate your super chat. Hope that helps. Hope to see you over at Flock Fantasy so we can help you build that team. Our next super chat is going to be from Evan. Evan, we really appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for joining us. And your question is, the trade is more complicated, but it boils down to Hopkins and 3 25 first-round picks for Justin Jefferson.
I'll take
First year in Dynasty, so struggling to value picks. My friend, it doesn't even matter. You're taking Justin Jefferson here.
Yes.
You're talking about the best wide receiver in the NFL for the next 8 years on your Dynasty team. He is a cheat code at scoring fantasy points. He's probably equivalent to 5 firsts. This is 3 firsts and a second and a third.
Yeah. Hopkins, in a deal of that caliber, Hopkins is irrelevant.
Yes. So, again, first year in Dynasty, struggling value picks. A lot of people are going to look at 25 firsts and say they're less valuable. We're not looking at it this way. These 25 firsts still are very, very valuable to us. However, you're talking about a guy that's going in the first round of startup drafts, and you're really only giving picks for him. Picks in like a guy going in the 10th, 11th round. Mm-hmm. We're making three firsts all day. But, Evan, appreciate your question. Appreciate your super chat. Hope that trade gets done, man, because that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
SJA Sixers, thank you for your support, my friend. Glad you have joined us tonight. You're 4-2. Congratulations on that. You're in a 10-team 2QB Superflex Dynasty. You got Stroud, Russ, and Bijan. Congrats on having Stroud, by the way. Yep. You got Jefferson, Laporta, Saquon, Judy, Najee, Mims, R-E-E-D, Reed, Jaden Reed. Thank you. Kamara, nice. Wandale Spears, 2 24 seconds, and a 25 first. Do you have any moves? Nathan, I'll let you get this one, buddy.
This is a tough situation because Stroud obviously been great. Russ been horrible. Bijan, J. Jeff, Laporta, Saquon. You're 4-2 in a 10 team with this situation, with all the injuries you've been struggling with and the disappointment of Najee Harris. I mean, kudos to you. We gotta give you a lot of credit for being able to be 4-2 with this situation. Let me say, if you can move off Najee for literally anything of value, especially since you're 4-2, any contending value or contending assets that you can get if you move off Najee Harris, please do it. We are so out on Najee Harris at this point, we think he's going to be valueless very, very soon.
Yeah.
Because he has been so bad. Marvin Mims and Jaden Reed, we really like in the future, I'm a bit lower on Marvin Mims because of his skill set as a wide receiver and the fact that I think Sean Payton's going to draft more receivers next year, and Mims will continue to be just that deep threat. So Mims has increased in value quite a bit. That'd be another guy I'd be looking to move off of. If you can, again, I don't care with your situation since you're 4-2. This is something where I'm kind of waiting a few more weeks to really decide, like, hey, am I going to go for it, or hey, I'm going to be okay being mediocre for another year and punt to next season. I'm just looking at the guys that you have now that have increased in value a lot that probably aren't going to be valued any higher in the future, and that's Najee Harris, that's Marvin Mims, and that's Jerry Jeudy. Once the trade deadline comes and he's moved to another team, he's off my roster.
Yeah.
Get him off your roster once he increases in value. But other than that, man, like, hold Kamara for now. Definitely holding Laporta. Definitely hold Laporta. He's a top 4 dynasty tight end. And then Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, you're not moving those guys. Tyjae Spears as well.
All right. Really appreciate your question, my friend. Hey, guys, if you've got a question, drop it in the comments. Hey, if you guys stay on and you keep asking questions, we'll stay on a little bit longer. You guys are flowing in right now. But there are more than 100 people watching, and we only have 43 likes. So let's get that up. Let's go ahead and get some more likes on this thing. And again, if you want to jump the line, we are way back in order. But if you want to jump the line, all these super chats are jumping in front. And the King of Sports is next. The King of Sports says you're in a 10-man league. Lots of 10-mans tonight. PPR Superflex, you have Herbert, Geno, Bijan Kamara, Devonta Smith, JSN, QJ, Javonte, Judy, Baker, Waller, Schultz. 224 first, 0-5. What should I do? Good question. You are in full rebuild mode, my friend. And that works out because you have 2 rebuilding quarterbacks in Herbert and Geno. Geno's a fine rebuild piece.
Yes, he is.
You have a rebuilding asset in Bijan. Here we stop because Alvin Kamara is great. He was a great value for a very, very long time. Now you can sell Alvin Kamara.
Get him off your roster.
And as a contender, you're obviously keeping Alvin Kamara, but as a rebuild, you are absolutely trying to get him off. So be targeting 2 seconds for Alvin Kamara. Use him to get to somebody else. I mean, Devonta Smith, great. JSN, great. QJ, great.
These next 4 guys, I want them off. I want them gone.
Including
Javonte? Off my
Javonte?
roster. Yes, including Javonte Williams. So Javonte Williams, I'm not in a hurry to get off your roster right now because he's not producing at the level that we want him to. Once he starts scoring a lot of points, I want him gone. I want him off my roster. He is going into the 4th year of his rookie deal next season. Obviously still coming off of that major injury. Jaleel McLaughlin's been showing out. We don't think he's going to be anything long-term, but he's not a Sean Payton pick. And I think everyone is on the block in Denver with Sean Payton being there and him drafting his own. I mean, he's favoring Adam Troutman over Greg Dulcich right now. So I'm looking to move off of him once he starts producing, and I think he will because he's very efficient when he's running the ball. He had a good game this last week against the Chiefs. Jerry Jeudy, again, wait for the trade deadline. Wait for the trade. Get him off your roster once he spikes in value. Baker Mayfield, sell him to a contender who's struggling with quarterback injuries, quarterback situations, maybe someone who's out of a Daniel Jones. If you can sell Baker Mayfield for a second, I'm happy doing that. And then Darren Waller. A lot of people value Darren Waller significantly. They may be lower on him than they were going into the season. But again, I'm just trying to accumulate picks here. As an 0-5 team, any second is incredibly valuable for you. Obviously, any first is going to be so valuable for you. But I mean, those seconds, you just want to get small market value wins going into next offseason.
Really appreciate your super chat, my friend. King of Sports, let us know if you need anything else. But appreciate your support for the channel. Let's jump down to the professor here. Thank you, the professor, for your support of the channel, and thanks for joining us tonight. Your question is, you're in a 10-team full PPR, you're 4-1. You just traded away Zach Moss, Ridley, and Rashad White for Justin Jefferson? No, you didn't. No, you didn't. That is wild, dude. You've got Hurts, Pollard, KW3, Hill, Collins, Ingram. In the bench, you've got Watson, Sanders. What are your thoughts? First of all, on the trade, applause for this man. You are truly the professor. That is amazing. Now, looking at the rest of your team, if you're 4-1,
schooled that man.
If you're 4-1 here, we got Hurts, Pollard, KW3. I'm keeping all those guys. Hill, Tyreek, that's really good. Nico, I'm fine keeping Nico. He's good contending value.
Skyrocketed, bro.
He is way up in rankings right now. Ingram, Cooper, and then bench you've got Christian Watson, Miles Sanders. You know what? What are you changing about this team, Nathan?
If I can get Drake London for Nico Collins, I'm doing that.
So Nico might be a sell at this point.
Yeah.
Nico might be a sell. Not sure.
I like that you have an Evan Ingram at tight end. That's great. Cooper Kupp. Or is that Amari Cooper? If it's Amari Cooper, I actually, regardless, I like whoever you have there. Christian Watson is one guy. If you're 4-1, I'm a big advocate as any team right now, rebuild or contend. I'm a big advocate for selling Christian Watson at the moment. I know he's not valued as high as he has been in the past, but regardless, I'm not trusting that situation in Green Bay overall. Jordan Love has a lot of question marks right now. How much is he going to be able to support, the guys there with Dubs, Jaden Reed, Aaron Jones, etc. That would be a guy where I'm trying to look and raise your ceiling as a contender, see if you can't get a couple guys that have a lot of contending upside in exchange for Christian Watson.
The Professor, we really, really appreciate you. Let's jump down to, he said that was Amari Cooper, by the way.
Okay. Yep.
Let's jump down to Coop here. Coop, we really appreciate your support, my friend. Thank you so much for the super chat. And your question tonight is going to be, you're in a 12-team. Nice. We got a 12-team question. 2 flex. You're 2-3. Let's look at your positions here. You've got Watson, Dobbs, and Bryce Young. You've got Bijan, Gibbs, Javonte, Charbonnet, Miller, and 3 handcuffs. Okay. Olave, Puka, T, Cooper, and London. Any Burrow trades? Interesting. Owner wants a running back, was a contender, but I don't know since my running back's in QB. Sent Godwin for T. Is that a win? The Godwin for T is absolutely a win.
Yes.
Burrow trades. If the owner wants a running back, use Jahmyr Gibbs to somehow get to Joe Burrow. Unless he just straight up tells you he hates Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm stuttering because I'm already upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, could you? I would do Gibbs and Deshaun if I could get Burrow.
Yes, Gibbs and Deshaun. But look, even if you can use like a Puka to get to Joe Burrow, doing that. Doing that 100%.
Yeah.
And you said you don't know because your running backs and quarterback. I think with your running backs, again, like you've got a lot of Bijan's great as a contending asset. You can afford to ship off some of these younger running backs for some better contending guys. So older guys. Josh Jacobs is really low in people's eyes right now.
Very.
So I'm fine pivoting to a better quarterback and then using some of the younger assets that we have on our team to go get some contending guys. So you could sell all of Gibbs, Javonte, probably not Charbonnet, but Gibbs and Javonte both. Absolutely you can.
Yep.
Even Puka, I'm fine with selling on this
even
team.
raise your ceiling at wide receiver.
Yes.
I mean, we've been talking about Jalen Waddle as a sneaky buy in dynasty formats right now because of his production. Again, a lot of people see the production for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season and they automatically knock him in his dynasty value. And I think Jalen Waddle is absolutely a guy you want to be targeting. I think it's very possible with your makeup to be able to raise your ceiling and contend if you can target Jalen Waddle. I know this from personal experience. I've bought Jalen Waddle at what I would consider to be a significant discount, and I'm really excited about it. So I think you'd be able to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And again, looking at your team, I think you really do need that quarterback security in Joe Burrow. I think it's a really good. Look, Joe Burrow, you're actually getting at a discount right now.
Does he have any tight ends?
I don't think he put him on here.
He didn't put tight ends.
I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 2-3. You're not out of this, and I think a good quarterback would definitely help you there.
He also said Burrow owner said no to anything with Javonte, so that closes that door of throwing in Javonte.
Right.
Man, any of those, I don't care what receiver it is. I mean, even at 2-3, if you're kind of forced into being mediocre because you got Burrow at a discount because you gave up some point scores, I'm completely fine with that. You're middle of the road anyways right now. So again, Gibbs and a big deal wide receiver that you have that maybe would help.
He says he's got Laporta and Ferguson, so his tight end is great. That's a good team, man.
Yeah.
Comfortable with where you're at.
Yep.
All right, great question and a great team. Coop, we cannot thank you enough for your support, man. You're very generous, and we really appreciate being a part of the community. Let us know if you need anything else.
Yep.
All right. We are going to be on for 10 more minutes, so if we got to go way back up to the top here and get through all these questions. So if you do want to jump the line and get your question in before we leave, Super Chats are going to jump the line, but we're going to jump up and try to answer everybody's questions we haven't gotten to yet. Way up in the stream, we've gotten a lot of Super Chats today, so we haven't really been able to answer a lot of these, but let's keep it going.
Robert Romeo?
Nope. Chase Brown says, what do we do with Joe Mixon? I'm a contender. Chase says, as a contender, I'm holding Joe Mixon. Are you holding Joe Mixon as a contender?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what I'd be doing there. Pretty simple for us. And actually, we already answered that question, so you're
Yeah,
right.
we did. Yep.
We are way further down there.
Yep.
Dude,
Robert,
I'm an idiot.
Try Robert Romeo.
Yeah. Why did I even question you?
Like,
I don't
You've
know.
got the thing that says which question we are.
You know,
Like,
my name is producer Sam, the
Right.
producer.
Would you guys agree DeAndre Swift is a buy in Dynasty? If Eagles extend him, he's top 7 at the position almost. If the Eagles extended him, I would completely agree with you. Here's
it's a big if, though.
Here's my reason why I think he's actually a sell, though. I don't think they're going to re-sign him.
They're not.
I don't think they are. I think
It's a good
obviously
question.
he's better than Miles Sanders, but when you're looking at the investment that they put into him to get him from the Lions, it cost him a 5th-round pick. And with that offensive line, which isn't going away anytime soon, I think they can make most running backs in the NFL look pretty good. And I don't want to discount DeAndre Swift as a talent. He could be okay somewhere else if he's not on the Eagles after this season. But regardless, I mean, you got to think about the salary cap and the situation in the Eagles offense overall. Like, they have a lot of O-linemen that they have to pay. They just paid top dollar to a quarterback. They're paying $100 million to A.J. Brown. That bill is already coming due. They're going to have to pay Devonta Smith very soon. And then you have a completely you have the other side of the ball. You have the entire defense, and that's incredibly vital in their success long-term. DeAndre Swift, I don't think they're going to prioritize.
Yeah. I 100% agree. They got a lot of people to pay there in Philly.
Yep.
Blind, our friend Blind is in the chat. What's up, Blind? Good to see you, my friend. He says, hey, guys. What's up, my friend? You're in a 12-team Superflex start 9. So what do you do in a league where you are expecting to tank and you unexpectedly go 4-1 with 4 firsts and 5 seconds? Holy crap. Well, there's a couple different options here. Number one, you can check out your max points for, and you can see, am I a pretender? It is possible to be very, very lucky early in the season with some of these wins.
Yep.
That is absolutely possible, and that is what I like to look at to make sure, okay, I'm just a pretender here. I'm not going to make any moves. I'm going to keep on my first. But obviously, you have some assets that are scoring points. So then your option would be to go ahead and ship those off and continue to gather more assets. Maybe not more first. You've got a lot of picks. The other option here is if you are even middle of the pack in points for, in max points for, you're taking those first and you are flipping them for contending assets and you are going for it. It sounds like if you had a rebuild team, you also have young assets. If you have the team to do it, if you have the assets to do it, if you have the points to do it, I love, especially right now in the season, and especially when you have this record, I love going and flipping these teams to contenders because it goes from I'm not going to win anything this year to I could win a money this year, and I love a money. So there are obviously two options there. I would be curious to know what your max PF is and what your rank is. That's in the sleeper advanced standings, but you're going to look at that and make that decision based on that data. And again, I'm cool with either of those. Obviously, you can either pivot and go really, or maybe you even don't even have to make any moves. I mean, if you've got all rebuilding assets and all your picks, you can just win games. I mean, look, your pick's not going to be the 101, but
Yeah, so a little personal experience here. Last season, I was in a league where I thought I was going to be bottom 6 quite easily because I literally went into the season having built up and loaded up at wide receiver, and I had no running backs, literally none.
Pizza games.
And I had Jamal Williams as my top running back.
Pizza game.
And I ended up being a middle of the pack team. But I knew that I was a pretender. I knew that I wasn't good enough at every single position to be able to make a run for it. Even with my future first, it wasn't worth sacrificing the next 2 to 3 seasons of dominance to win that year because, again, my best running back was Jamal Williams, and that was literally the only running back that I had. So if that's a kind of situation that you're working with right now, then that would be a situation where I'd say, hey, be okay being mediocre, see where you can go in the playoffs, and if you really end up being a really good seed in the playoffs, then trade away some picks to contend like Avery said. But overall, it's a great situation to be in, and you can't really go wrong either way.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you there. Blind, thank you for the super chat, my friend. It is good to see you in our chat. We love having you around, man. All All right, we got 5 minutes and we're going to get off here. So we're going to scroll back up, keep answering these comments. But if you want your question answered tonight while we're on the stream, Super Chats are going to jump the line. Again, we're going to be done here in about 5 minutes. And we're going to jump over and do a live stream on Fantasy Domain at 6:30. So you can join us over there if you got some redraft questions. Nathan, I'll let you take some questions.
Crazy Madness said, in my league right now, it's difficult to get one of the top 12 wide receivers. I have plenty of picks as a rebuilder. Do these kind of players usually become more available in the summer? No, they become more available now. And I think... and we're saying Dynasty top 12 wide receivers.
Right.
Like, there are a lot of, when you go and look at Keep Trade Cut, when you go and look at other rankings sources, there's going to be a lot of contending assets that sneak up into the top 12 wide receivers in Dynasty that I would say are frauds. They're fakes. They don't belong there. They're going to slip out of that position once the season ends. So I'm looking at a guy like T. Higgins, who I think will end up sliding back into the top 12 conversation come season end because of his situation. I see a guy like Brandon Ayuk who's flirting with that situation already. I'm looking at a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is being severely discounted as a rookie wide receiver who's playing behind Lockett and DK Metcalf and isn't producing at the level that we expected. He is absolutely in this conversation. Jalen Waddle, I think, has fallen out of the top 12 as well. Those are 4 legitimate guys that could be in the running for being top 12 wide receivers in Dynasty that aren't on your standard trade calculators at the moment. Those are guys that I'm gunning for. The top 12 wide receivers as a rebuild are going to be, again, those contending assets, so you don't want to target those guys anyways. If anything, if you have a lot of picks and you can get Justin Jefferson at a discount, we're seeing that a lot. Go for it. Do it. Pay a lot of those picks to go get J-Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. You can keep going.
Next question from Drew. 12-man half PPR Superflex start 10. Herbert, Bryce, Masseuse. Nice. JT, Henry, CeeDee Lamb, Olave, London, Burks. Not going to read the rest of your team. Sell off pieces or stay.
I wonder who he's
put.
talking about.
He's 1-4. He doesn't have any of his own firsts either. Dude, if you don't have any of your own firsts and you're 1-4, man.
Moment of silence.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's really unfortunate. I'm selling Henry for any pick possible. You have a lot of really good assets to work with long term, like with JT, CeeDee Lamb, Olave, London, Quentin Johnston, Pitts. But I mean, Derrick Henry, I'm just getting off your team right now. Who else would you be selling there for any picks possible?
Can't see the question. It won't let me go up.
Because honestly, there's a lot of guys that we like there long term, but they're not worth moving off of because a lot of them have fallen in value, like London, and they're not going to get you any extra points to try and contend this year. I think you're stuck being middle of the pack.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Next question. Muhammad says, I just managed to flip James Conner for a 25 first. Nice job. Very nice job. I think I can get someone to overpay in picks for DJ, Steelers, Deontay Johnson. Should I sell too? We're having a tough time seeing people buy high on Deontay Johnson or buy him at a premium. We think he's more of a buy low at the moment. I mean, there's scenarios coming in like a second or a third or Deontay Johnson. We're taking Deontay Johnson. If you can get a first for Deontay Johnson, I would absolutely do that, but I don't think you're getting anything better than 2 seconds. If you're a rebuild, take the 2 seconds, I guess, but overall, I think we think Deontay Johnson's a hold.
Yeah.
Mystic Flame says 12-team Dynasty Superflex start 11. Trade Rashad White and an extra 25 first for Jalen Warren and a 24 first. Let's call those first mid just in case.
Good call.
I'll take the 24 first there.
Yeah.
It's the earlier first. So.
All right, we're going to cut it there, and if you guys have any more Super Chats, we'll go through and answer those after I do this. But we had a lot of questions we couldn't answer tonight because we had a lot of people. We have to prioritize Super Chats. Hope you understand that. We're going to be doing more live streams on the Dynasty channel from here on out, so make sure you keep an eye out for live streams. We love answering these questions. And if you want a team blueprint for your Dynasty team, flockfantasy.com/domain is where it's at. When you choose the Mother Flocker tier over there on flockfantasy.com, we're going to give you a team blueprint. We'll go through this blueprint on a live stream if you'd like. like us to. We're going to give you a comprehensive breakdown of your team, which direction you should take it in, how to approach this in your Dynasty league. So, like I said, flockfantasy.com/domain, and make sure you use code domain for 30% off and to unlock the blueprint. And like I said, you'll be able to get on one of these live streams as well with your own team blueprint. Guys, we are going to jump over in about 15 minutes on the Fantasy Domain channel with the live stream there. So make sure you join us over there. Make sure you join us next week for the Dynasty show. Guys, we really appreciate you joining us. Thanks everyone so much for watching. Peace out. We'll see you later.